Hello and welcome back to the Totoro mat. Today we got another slip joint, as I've kind of started that kind of thing a week or two ago. This I just recently got. This is the Real Steel Luna. This is the Knife Center exclusive version, so it's got white G10 with black hardware, so kind of that Stormtrooper kind of vibe to it. And I don't remember I could look inside the box for the actual maker for it. I will have that information in the description and probably in the thumbnail video for it. But I don't think I can pronounce it. If I remember right, it looks rather Polish to me, which I'm not super familiar with. This thing has a slip joint. You have a decent four-finger kind of grip there, and you have a decent amount of jimping up there at the top. And that also allows your finger to hold on to that, so makes it really difficult to accidentally cut yourself with that, which is nice. This thing doesn't have a half stop on it, but it's not a cam stop either. It's kind of a 3/4. Kind of an interesting way for them to go about it. And they do have a matchstick pull / fuller that runs almost the full length of the blade. Kind of an interesting way to go about it, but it works out quite all right. You can see we have a very, very nice slim blade stocks, so it's super nice and slicey. And it's fairly darn thin behind the edge. I did sharpen it up to a 17-degree edge and kind of mirror polish that with some lapping films and strops and whatnot. Now this thing is a little bit interesting in its construction. But before I kind of get into that, you can kind of see that, it's white. It's nice. There is kind of a reason why a lot of companies don't do a lot of full white. And it's because, it's really easy to see if it gets dirty, and it's really difficult to not have kind of a tint to it in general when you're manufacturing it. And this is no exception. So there you go. So this thing was kind of put together a little bit differently than I have it together now. And I'll kind of show you a little bit why that is. But yeah, we have a deep carry clip on there. Interesting for a slip joint to have a clip. However, this thing is not attached from the front. It's attached from the inside, which makes it very, very difficult to actually remove this if you wanted to do so. There's also, another screw that's completely hidden by there. So, Now, what I did do differently was I kind of did the pivot a little bit different than it was originally done. That's because you have to take these 3 screws off here, because that's the side that you have access to it. And then the screw for the pivot was on this side. So then you'd have to go ahead and take that out and then push the pivot through to be able to disassemble this thing, which not super easy, but this was easy enough to swap because the back side and the screw side, pretty darn easy to deal with. But okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and at least take a little look-see on the inside here. Sorry about the squeaking. That's actually my chair's armrest that likes to make a little bit of noise. There's a pivot on there. Not much in the way of Loctite. You can see, yeah, it does get a little grimy and whatnot on the inside there. But part of that's also just due to the black hardware in general. So, yeah. Alright, from this point, you just kind of have to pry a little bit. I actually have my little iFixit jimmy. You can use whatever you want. Probably want to use something with plastic, like a standard spudger or something like that. but I generally don't care a huge amount. But yeah, once you get in there, then you can actually basically try to unscrew some of those to be able to kind of take that out, get the blade out of there. And then once you finally remove this whole back spring, which is this whole apparatus here, then you can actually get to the screws, the T6 screws, to remove the pocket clip, which is a little crazy. But, you know, it's fine if you actually want the clip there. And just, you know, it would be a little nicer if it was easier to deal with. But yeah, like I said, I did change the orientation of the pivot there. And we do have a D shape, but we have a full D shape pivot, but only D on one side of the G10, and this side didn't matter. So that was fine. We do have phosphor bronze, both sides here. They came with a little itty bitty tiny kind of a burr on there. But, you know, it's certainly nothing that a strap a little bit of paste on there can't take care of in a few seconds. It really wasn't hurting the action at all, but usually if I'm in there, I go ahead and do that. Either way, I kind of polish those up and then face them out towards the G10 because, well, that's just gonna be what I decided to do. So we got the blade stop, and that kind of keeps it from closing and having some blade wrap. And it has a little itty bitty hole up here. I don't know why. As far as I can tell, it's not really serving much of a purpose there. You can see this is their 3/4 stop kind of thing. Yeah. But that's about as far as I really want to take this thing apart because I do kind of hate wedging slip joints back in there. But since I did have this open rather recently and made it quite a bit easier to actually disassemble reliably, then you know, I figured I could certainly do that for y'all. So if you were curious kind of what's going on the inside of a real steel Luna, and keep in mind there are about 1 million variants of this knife. This is the Knife Center exclusive, but yep, they also do have a whole bunch of other models, probably exclusives with others. D2 is not the only steel that they make this in. I think they also do like S35 VN for some variants and whatnot. So yeah, they kind of released the first batch and ended up being incredibly popular, and they just kind of ran with it. And I can kind of see why. I do like the blade shape on there quite a bit. It's got, you know, a nice bit of belly going on there. And, you know, I'm not exactly the hugest fan of having a full straight in the back going up to there. But that just has to do with the kind of cutting that I end up doing, where that ends up helping out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it is certainly not the smoothest slip joint ever. And the reason behind that, as you saw on the inside there, is there's no steel kind of on the inside of the G10 there. So you just have the phosphor bronze washers that are interfacing with the blade, and they're interfacing with raw G10. You know, some other companies do get around that a little bit by milling a little bit of that G10 out and putting some steel washers or whatnot in there, or a bearing race if you want to go that way. It's not done almost at all, but I have seen a couple things of slip joints using bearings in the pivot. Yeah, you know, obviously if you have the back spring on these things, constantly putting pressure on them, then yeah, it really doesn't necessarily matter how smooth the inside is. You're always going to be fighting that force there. So that's generally a good reason why a lot of them don't. Also, because a lot of these do end up in the bottom of pockets or purses or whatnot. And, that's a prime place for lint and sand and other detritus to get all up in the knives and everything. So you probably do want to have washers and everything in there instead. But yeah, I do like this guy quite a bit. Super interesting. Nice and thin behind the edge, as I said. If I hadn't mentioned it before, yep, it's D2, which is kind of the standard variation of that. And it's a little bit large. Let's see. Trying to look for... Aha. The artisan cutlery biome that I kind of take a look at recently. Yep, this is also G10. You have basically the same kind of length of blade, which, hey, might as well get some of that measurement out of the way. So yeah, it's a little over 2.5 inches, but not 2 3/4 kind of thing. A little bit less than that. We can see that this guy does have a little bit of contouring on him, but it's not super round like this guy is. They are about the same thickness, though, as you can see here. But, hey, this one's got a pocket clip, whereas this one doesn't. And this one also has D2 steel, which is going to hold its edge a heck of a lot more than the 12C27, or quote-unquote 12C27N that Artisan and CJRB kind of put on theirs. So yeah, I do like this guy a lot. I've probably said that once or twice because I'm an idiot and I keep repeating myself. It was actually a little bit larger than I had originally anticipated it being, mostly in just kind of the handle tallness. I was kind of picturing a little bit more of this kind of shape, but hey, like it. I do really like having the blade reach down to the bottom there, so you're actually holding it on both sides. That does make it feel a lot more secure. Even if you are pushing crazy with this thing, then you're not gonna end up having the blade closing on you. But yeah, not exactly the best walk and talk in the industry, but certainly works out all right. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do some measuring and whatnot. Let's see. I'm on millimeters, so I'll go ahead and do the blade stock thickness on here, which, yeah, it's basically probably like 2.3. Yeah, 2.3 millimeter. So super nice and slicey, which, hey, a lot of slip joints in general are. Not all of them. Sometimes you get some ultra thick boys like this, but by and large, a lot of traditional slip joints are fairly thin on the blade stock. Makes them nice and slicey, like that. Alright, how about if I go ahead and take a look at how thick this guy is? Nice and thin. Basically like 3.6 inches, maybe just a touch smaller than that. And of course, it's a nice, simple slip joint without any internal liners, so this thing's got to be super light. It's not a featherweight, that's for sure. Yeah, 1.73 ounces. Or, yeah, 49, almost 50 grams. So yeah, it's not exactly the absolute lightest thing on the planet, but, well, it's a G10 slip joint that has some nice ergonomics and actually does fit larger hands with a full 4-finger grip on there. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, the only thing that I can really say with this particular variant is, I like the idea of white G10, but I've almost yet to see anybody fully pull it off in a way that doesn't either come stained from the factory or get dirty super quick. I have a Tucson coming, but I think it's a little bit more cream G10 than it is just trying to be as white as possible. But there you go. If you do want to, actually disassemble this thing and kind of clean it up or whatnot, I would highly suggest kind of swapping the pivot over there just to make it much easier. It was much easier than, taking these screws out, then taking the back pivot screw out, then shoving the blade pivot through there, which would then, disengage the blade, which means that the back spring wasn't in place and whatnot. And it's just much easier to do this way. So you can just take everything off from one side, open it up, deal with whatever you need to. If you do need to take the blade out to deal with this side, it's not too bad to do so. So yeah, a little bit of a hack that I liked, but it's always kind of up to you. I understand this is a show side, and some companies don't like to have a screw for the pivot on the show side. But almost all of them have like Chicago screws or posts or something like that show screws on either side. So, hey, I don't particularly care either way. And it's my knife. Oh, darn it. So, all right. Yeah, that's the Real Steel Luna. This is the Stormtrooper variant from Knife Center. But, yeah, it's available pretty much everywhere for not very much. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, now that I'm thinking about it. I think I paid probably somewhere around 40 or 45 for this guy. Which, hey, I mean, for what you're getting, you do have a nice thin slicey blade that's going to last you a long time between sharpenings. So, yeah, I suppose that's good and worth it. But, all right, yep, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.